I almost didn't go to my 15-year class reunion because I knew exactly what I'd find there. Bad music, folding chairs, name tags curling at the corners, men pretending they still had hair, women pretending they didn't notice. A rented photo booth where people who had barely spoken in high school would hug like war survivors. And me, standing near the wall like I was waiting for permission to exist. Then Claire Whitman walked into the gym. And suddenly, I was 17 again, holding a library book I hadn't read, trying to look casual while the prettiest girl in school asked if the seat beside me was taken. My name is Daniel Mercer. I was 33 years old, an insurance claims adjuster in Columbus, and I had built a perfectly acceptable life around not expecting too much from anybody. I had a small apartment, a reliable sedan, a coffee maker that sounded like it was dying every morning, and a talent for leaving parties before anyone noticed I was gone. Coming back to Brookhaven was supposed to be simple. One night, smile at people, say things like, "Wow, has it really been that long?" Avoid the punch bowl, drive back before midnight. That was the plan. Plans are funny that way. They sit quietly in your pocket until one woman in a green dress ruins them. The reunion was held in our old high school gym, which still smelled faintly like floor wax and teenage embarrassment. Someone had hung silver streamers from the basketball hoops. Our senior class banner stretched across the bleachers, the same navy and gold letters from 2009, only now the tape sagged at the corners. I stood under a poster that said, "Welcome back, Cougars," and immediately regretted every decision that had led me there. Daniel Mercer? I turned and found Brian Keene holding two plastic cups of beer and wearing the confident grin of a man who had never once wondered if people liked him. "Man, you look exactly the same," he said. "That's what people say when they can't remember anything about you." He laughed too loudly. "Still dry." "Still humid," I said, tugging at my collar. He looked confused, which was fair. Most of my jokes required a second of patience, and Brian had never been a patient man. We made small talk about jobs, traffic, bad knees. He told me he sold commercial roofing now. I told him I investigated hail damage. Neither of us knew what to do with that information, so we nodded like two men honoring the dead. Then his eyes shifted past my shoulder. "Well, I'll be damned," he said. Claire showed. I didn't turn right away. Some names don't enter a room. They open a door in your chest. Claire Whitman had been the first girl who ever made me want to be seen, and the last girl who made me brave enough to try. In high school, she had sat 3 rows ahead of me in English, always with a pen tucked behind her ear and ink smudged on the side of her hand. She was smart without being cruel about it, kind without making a performance of it, and completely unaware that half the senior class had fallen in love with her quiet laugh. I had loved her from a distance, which sounds noble if you've never done it. Mostly it was cowardice with better lighting. But for a while, near the end, I thought maybe she saw me too. We had shared library tables, walked to the parking lot after late drama rehearsals, even though neither of us was in the play. She'd ask me questions like she actually wanted the answers. Once, after I made her laugh so hard she snorted, she put her hand on my arm and said, "You're not as quiet as everyone thinks." I lived on that sentence for an embarrassing amount of time. Then graduation came, and Claire left town with Ethan Vale, the golden boy with a baseball scholarship and a smile built for yearbook pages. At least that was what everyone said. I never asked. By then I had learned that some doors hurt less if you don't touch the handle. I finally turned. Claire stood near the entrance, holding a small silver clutch in both hands. Her brown hair was shorter now, brushing her shoulders in soft waves. There were faint lines near her eyes, the kind earned by laughter and long days. She wasn't the untouchable girl from my memory anymore. She was better, realer. She scanned the gym with the nervous smile of someone who had nearly turned around in the parking lot. Then her eyes found mine. For 1 second, everything in the room blurred. Brian said something, but I didn't hear it. Claire walked toward me slowly, like she wasn't sure she had the right to. I wished I had done something useful with my hands. Pockets felt too casual. Crossed arms felt defensive. Hanging at my sides made me look like a mannequin having an emotional crisis. "Daniel," she said. "Claire." Her smile flickered. "You came. So did you." "I almost didn't." "Same?" That made her laugh softly, and there it was. The sound I remembered, only warmer now, a little lower, like life had added depth instead of taking something away. For a moment, we stood there with 15 years between us, and somehow not enough space to hide in. Then her expression changed. The nerves came back. Not reunion nerves, something older. She looked down at her clutch, then back at me. "I need to ask you something," she said. My chest tightened. "Okay." Claire swallowed, and when she spoke, her voice was careful enough to break my heart before I even understood why. "Did you ever get my letter?" For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. The DJ had started playing some early 2000s song that made half the room cheer. People were laughing near the bleachers. Someone dropped a plastic cup and ice scattered across the waxed floor. But all I heard was Claire. "Letter?" I asked. Her face went pale in a way that told me my answer had already landed. "You didn't," she whispered. "I don't know what letter you mean." She looked past me, toward the trophy case, like she needed somewhere to put her eyes before they filled. Then she nodded once, but not like she understood, like a person confirming a fear. "I wrote to you after graduation," she said, "the night before I left for Chicago." I stared at her. "You left for Chicago?" Her eyebrows drew together. "Yes." "With Ethan?" "What?" She looked almost offended. "No, why would you think that?" "Because everyone said it. Because I saw his car outside your house that morning. Because I was 18 and proud and terrified, and believing you had chosen him hurt less than asking." I said none of that. "I heard things," I said instead. Claire let out a humorless breath. "Of course you did." A group of former classmates drifted too close, loud and red-faced, so she stepped nearer to me. The scent of her perfume reached me, something soft, like vanilla and rain. My stupid heart reacted as if no time had passed at all. "What was in the letter?" I asked. Her fingers tightened around the clutch. She opened her mouth, closed it, then gave a small shake of her head. "Not here." We ended up in the hallway outside the gym, beneath the framed photos of principals who all looked disappointed in us. The noise dulled behind the double doors. The hallway lights buzzed overhead. Same beige lockers, same chipped tile, same place where I had once watched Claire decorate a poster for the winter food drive, her tongue caught between her teeth in concentration. She leaned against the wall across from me. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For assuming the worst of you." That hit harder than I expected. I tried to smile. "It's been 15 years. I'm sure we both did some assuming." She gave me a look. "Daniel." Just my name. But it carried the old weight, the version of me she used to see when no one else bothered looking. I looked down at my shoes. "What did you write?" I asked again. Claire drew in a slow breath. "I wrote that I loved you." The hallway seemed to tilt. Not dramatically, not like the movies. More like the floor had shifted 1 inch to the left and my body had forgotten how to balance. "I wrote," she continued, voice trembling now, "that I was scared to say it in person because every time I tried, you looked like you were already halfway out the door. I wrote that I didn't want to leave town without telling you. I asked if you felt anything too, and I gave you my aunt's address in Chicago." I couldn't speak. "I waited," she said, "all summer, then all fall. Every time the mail came, I made excuses to be the one who got it. I thought maybe you were thinking. Then I thought maybe you were angry. Then I thought—" She swallowed. "I thought you were kind enough to pretend it never happened." I pressed my hand against the cold locker beside me. "I never got it." Her eyes searched mine like she was trying to decide whether to believe me, but the decision didn't take long. Claire had always been good at reading silence. Mine must have been screaming. "I know," she said softly. "I believe you." A laugh escaped me, sharp and broken. "I was in love with you." Her lips parted. "I was," I said, because after 15 years, cowardice felt ridiculous. Completely. Pathetically. "I used to walk past the art room after school because I knew you'd be there on Tuesdays. I checked out books I didn't understand because you recommended them. I still remember you hated yellow Skittles." "I still hate yellow Skittles," she whispered. I almost laughed again, but it hurt too much. She covered her mouth with one hand. Daniel, I thought you left with Ethan. No. Ethan drove me to the bus station because my mother was working and my sister was supposed to take me but forgot. He was just being nice. My throat tightened. A whole life had bent around one wrong shape. Who did you give the letter to? I asked. Claire went still. What? You said you wrote it before you left. Did you mail it? Her eyes dropped. No, she said. I couldn't. I was afraid I'd lose my nerve, so I sealed it and gave it to someone to give to you at graduation night. Something cold moved through me. Who? She looked toward the gym doors. Inside, the crowd roared with laughter over some announcement. The past was in there, wearing name tags. Claire's voice was barely audible. My sister. Your sister, I repeated. Claire nodded, but she didn't look at me. Her sister Mara had been 2 years older than us. I remembered her vaguely, sharp eyeliner, sharper mouth, always leaning against her red hatchback like the world had personally bored her. She had worked part-time at the pharmacy and treated high school like a sentence she'd already served. She said she'd give it to you, Claire said. She was going to the graduation bonfire anyway. I couldn't go because my bus left early the next morning and I knew you'd be there. I was. I know. Claire's voice cracked. I pictured it so many times. You opening it, reading it, maybe smiling. I remembered that night, smoke in my clothes, warm soda, people signing yearbooks they'd never open again. I had stood near the edge of Miller's Field watching fireworks someone's older brother had bought illegally. I kept hoping Claire would appear. She never did. By midnight, I convinced myself that was my answer. Did Mara ever say anything after? I asked. Claire wiped quickly beneath one eye. Only that she gave it to you. The gym doors swung open and a woman stepped into the hall laughing over her shoulder. For 1 second, I saw the older version of the girl from my memory, Mara Whitman. Her dark hair was cut in an expensive bob now, her dress black and fitted, her smile bright enough to warn people away. She turned, noticed us, and the smile thinned. Well, she said, this looks serious. Claire straightened. Mara. I felt Claire shift beside me like her body had braced before her mind decided to. That told me more than I wanted to know. Mara looked at me. Daniel Mercer, haven't seen you since you were hiding behind library shelves. Nice to see you too, I said. Her eyes flicked between us. Catching up? Claire's voice was quiet. We were talking about the letter. The air changed. It was small, a blink, a tightening at the corner of Mara's mouth, but it was enough. What letter? Mara asked. Claire inhaled sharply. Don't! Mara rolled her eyes. Claire, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yes, you do. A couple came out of the gym, saw our faces, and immediately decided the punch table was safer. The doors closed again, muffling the music. Claire took one step toward her sister. The letter I gave you the night before I left. The one for Daniel. Mara's expression hardened. This again? I turned to Claire. You asked her before? Once, Claire said. Years ago. After I moved back to help Mom. I was cleaning out my old room and found the envelope box. It reminded me. Mara said she gave it to you and that you probably threw it away. Mara crossed her arms. Because that's what happened. No, I said. Both women looked at me. I never got it. Mara gave a short laugh. Of course you'd say that. I felt my face go hot, but my voice stayed level. Years of talking to angry policyholders had taught me something. People revealed more when you didn't chase them. Why would I lie? I asked. To make her feel better. To make yourself look better. Pick one. Claire stared at her. Why are you so angry? I'm not angry. You are. Mara looked away, and there it was again, that tiny fracture in the mask. Claire stepped closer. What did you do? Mara's jaw worked. I protected you. The words landed like a dropped glass. Claire went very still. From Daniel? She asked. Mara looked at me then, and for the first time I saw something beyond contempt. Fear, maybe. Or guilt curdled into pride. From this town, Mara said. From turning yourself into mom. From giving up Chicago for some quiet boy who would have married you at 19 and kept you here forever. I never asked her to stay, I said. No, Mara snapped. You wouldn't have had to. She was already soft about you. Stupid soft. Claire flinched. Mara saw it and lowered her voice, but not her weapon. You had a way out. An actual life waiting. Art school, Aunt Denise, a city where nobody knew dad left or mom cried in the laundry room. You think I was going to let you throw that away over a letter? My pulse pounded in my ears. Claire whispered, You didn't give it to him. Mara looked at her sister, and the fight drained from her face for half a second. Then she said, No. Claire pressed a hand to her stomach. Mara added, softer, I burned it. The hallway seemed to shrink around us. 15 years. Summers, apartments, jobs, lonely birthdays, almost relationships that failed because some part of me never trusted happiness when it knocked. Reduced to ash in Mara Whitman's hand. Claire stepped back as if her sister had shoved her. You let me think he ignored me, she said. I let you leave. I cried for months. You survived. Claire's face changed then. The hurt stayed, but something stronger rose through it. At what cost? She asked. Mara had no answer. Behind us, the gym doors opened again, spilling light and music across the hallway. Someone called Mara's name from inside. She didn't move. Claire turned to me, eyes shining, voice barely steady. I need air. I nodded. Together, we walked away from the noise. From Mara, from the life that had almost been ours. And neither of us looked back. Outside, the night smelled like cut grass and rain. The football field lights were off, but the old scoreboard loomed beyond the parking lot. Its numbers dark, its paint peeling. Somewhere behind the school, frogs called from the drainage ditch we used to pretend was a creek. Claire walked to the edge of the sidewalk and stopped beneath a maple tree. For a while, she didn't say anything. She just stared at the empty student lot like she expected to find her younger self sitting on the curb with a sealed envelope in her hands. I hated you a little, she said finally. I nodded, though it hurt. I know. No, you don't. She turned to me, tears bright on her cheeks. I hated that you were kind afterward, that you never mocked me, never told anyone. I thought that was your way of being decent. Like you were saying, let's pretend you didn't embarrass yourself. I thought you chose Ethan and were being kind by not telling me. She gave a broken laugh. We were idiots. We were 18. Same thing. The laugh faded, and silence settled between us again. I wanted to reach for her. I wanted it so badly, my hands ached. But she had just had a piece of her life ripped open. I didn't want to become another person who took a choice from her. So I kept still. Claire wiped her face with the heel of her hand. I can't believe Mara did that. Did she always control things? Claire finished. Yes. But she called it helping. After Dad left, she became the general of our little disaster. Mom fell apart, and Mara decided feelings were a luxury none of us could afford. She thought she was saving you. She stole from me. The words were quiet, but they were clean. Certain. I looked across the lot at the gym doors. Through the glass, colored lights flashed over familiar strangers. She stole from both of us, I said. Claire's eyes met mine. There it was. The dangerous part. Not the anger, not the grief. The possibility. 15 years hadn't erased her. They had only taught me how to live around the empty space. What happened in Chicago? I asked. She breathed in slowly. Art school, waitressing. Tiny apartment with 3 roommates and a radiator that sounded possessed. I got a job designing book covers for a small publisher. Then Mom got sick 7 years ago, so I came back. I'm sorry. She's better now, mostly. I stayed because... Claire shrugged. Because staying became easier than leaving again. I understood that too well. What about you? She asked. Columbus, work, a few almosts. Almosts? Almost married once. Her face changed before she could hide it. Oh. It ended before the invitations went out. She said I was kind, dependable, emotionally furnished like a waiting room. Claire let out a surprised laugh, then covered her mouth. I'm sorry. No, she was pretty accurate. I doubt that. You haven't seen my apartment? Her smile softened. Then she looked down at her hands. I never married. I tried not to react, failed. I told myself it wasn't because of you, she said, and maybe it wasn't only because of you. But every time someone got close, some part of me was still standing by a mailbox in Chicago. My chest tightened. I'm sorry, I said, for not getting a letter you never got, for not asking, for believing rumors, for letting pride make my decisions. We both did that. Yeah, I said, but I'm only in charge of my half. She studied me for a long moment. You're still you. I hope that's not bad. No. Her voice warmed. It's the opposite. A car passed on the road beyond the school, headlights washing over us and disappearing. When darkness returned, Claire was closer than before. Or maybe I was. I don't know what to do with this, she whispered. Neither do I. I'm angry and sad and happy you didn't ignore me, and furious that being happy about that makes me feel 18 again. That's a lot for a school parking lot. She laughed through tears. It really is. This time, when I lifted my hand, I moved slowly enough for her to refuse. She didn't. I brushed a tear from her cheek with my thumb. Her eyes closed for half a second, and the years between us seemed to fold, not vanish. Just fold carefully, like a letter kept safe. We don't have to decide tonight, I said. Claire opened her eyes. Don't we? No, we lost 15 years because other people made choices, and we let silence finish the job. I don't want to rush just because the truth finally showed up. Her gaze searched mine. So, what do we do? I smiled faintly. Start smaller than forever. The gym doors opened behind us. Mara stepped out alone. Claire stiffened, but she didn't move away from me. Mara stopped under the entrance light, her face pale now, all the sharpness gone. I still have it, she said. Claire went rigid. I frowned. You said you burned it. Mara swallowed. I lied. Her voice shook. About that too. Mara reached into her purse with trembling fingers and pulled out a yellowed envelope. My name was written across the front in Claire's handwriting. Daniel Mercer. Not Dan. Not Danny. Daniel. Like she'd known even then how carefully I held myself together. Claire stared at it as if it were alive. I couldn't burn it, Mara said. I wanted to. I told myself I did. But I kept thinking one day you'd hate me and I'd need proof that I had a reason. A reason? Claire's voice was hollow. Mara's eyes filled. A terrible one. No one moved. Finally, Claire took the envelope. Her thumb passed over the seal, still unbroken after 15 years. Then she turned to me. It was yours, she whispered. I shook my head. No, it was ours. So she opened it. The paper inside had softened with age. Claire unfolded it carefully, and beneath the entrance light of our old high school, she read the words her 18-year-old self had been brave enough to write. She didn't read all of it aloud. Some things belonged only to her younger heart. But she read enough. Daniel, I keep trying to say this out loud, but when I'm near you, I get scared you'll hear how much I mean it. I love you, not in a hallway crush way, not because graduation makes everything feel bigger. I love the way you listen when everyone else is waiting to talk. I love that you notice small things. I love that you make me feel calm and nervous at the same time. If you don't feel the same, please don't be cruel. Just don't write back. But if you do, I'll be in Chicago with Aunt Denise. I don't know what happens after that. I only know I couldn't leave without giving us a chance to begin. Claire stopped there. By then I couldn't see clearly. Mara was crying too, silently now, but neither of us comforted her. Some forgiveness needs time to become honest. Claire folded the letter and pressed it to her chest. I did love you, I said. I would have written back. I know, she said. And that was the closest thing to healing we had that night. Not getting the years back, not undoing the silence, but finally standing inside the truth together. Mara apologized again. Claire listened. She didn't absolve her. She didn't punish her either. She simply said, I need space. And Mara nodded like someone finally learning that love without respect is only control in nicer clothes. Claire and I didn't go back into the reunion. We walked instead, past the baseball field, past the art room windows, past the bench where I had once sat pretending not to wait for her. We talked until the parking lot emptied and the reunion lights shut off behind us. At midnight, I asked if I could call her the next day. She smiled. You better. 6 months later, I knew the road between Columbus and Brookhaven better than any road I'd ever driven. We didn't rush. We had coffee dates, long phone calls, awkward silences, and one terrible argument about whether we were falling in love with who we were or who we remembered. The answer eventually was both. By the following spring, Claire moved back to Chicago, not to run away this time, but to take a design job she actually wanted. I followed 3 months later, not because she asked me to, but because for once I knew which door I needed to open. We rented an apartment with crooked floors and too much sunlight. She kept the letter framed between two panes of glass on the bookshelf, not as a wound, but as proof. Some nights, I'd find her reading beside the window, silver in her hair catching the lamplight, and I'd think about that gym, that question, that envelope waiting 15 years to become a beginning. I used to believe love was something you either caught in time or lost forever. I was wrong. Sometimes love waits in the dark, folded and unopened, until two people are finally brave enough to read what was always true. And every year on the anniversary of that reunion, Claire leaves a letter for me on the kitchen table. I always write back. If you've ever wondered whether one missing letter could change an entire life, tell me in the comments what you would have done. What would you have done if something like, at our class reunion, my high school crush asked, "Did you ever get my letter?" happened to you? And have you ever mistaken kindness for something your heart was too afraid to name? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.